So the thing about Masvidal that immediately pops out is this dude he'll just engage you, man. I mean, I get that Diaz and Masvidal are fighting for this made up belt called the BMF belt. And you understand what BMF means if you're a fight fan, if you're just a Neanderthal that's walked around in a gym. And I get that's the appeal of this belt. And while I think that the BMF belt is really given out in every single division in the UFC, Cerrone just coming at him, man. Just, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Oh, what a left there. Get after him, Masvidal. Like, all right, yeah, man. You look like the kind of dude that came up fighting in backyards. But is the BMF belt such a bad thing, right? I mean, I don't really think that it's such a bad thing. I think that it's worthwhile. I understand getting more casuals into the arena is what's going to grow mixed martial arts, and particularly the brand that is the UFC. ESPN is doing a tremendous job with it. John Anik's doing a good job. Joe Rogan is the man. We know what kind of money's been thrown in behind this and the uniformity that Dana White has put into effect. Bunch of alphas in a room. And that's why this belt's going to succeed. Man, just those leg kicks are just killing. This belt is legitimate because we all agree that it's fake. Look at these. Goodness me. We agree that it's really not super necessary, right? But necessary. Because these are the only two guys that could fight for this belt inside the UFC at this particular moment in time. It's not to say that there aren't other BMFs walking around the UFC. I assure you, that's not what I'm getting at. I am saying that for the casual, you know Jorge Masvidal, dubbed Cuban Jesus by my man Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, after what we all saw him do, right? 16 years this man has been fighting professionally. 16 years. And people are talking about him being overnight because he threw a flying knee at a wrestler that can't fight. Talks a lot of noise, can't fight. Got the big fro, can't fight. So Jorge does what everybody wanted to do, right? Which is throw a knee straight at this guy's skull, crack it. You know, it wasn't dent the skull Pokemon ball roll at him, crack it, but he cracked it, right? And then he caught him on the way down. He got in a few extra slaps because Ben Askren needed a few extra slaps. We know this. And you can talk about the savagery, and you can talk about, is this what the sport is supposed to be about? Or you can just get on board and ride the wave because, man, in this fight, this is so good because Cerrone's taking him to the ground. And he fought it off. My God. Oh, he got him with the spinning back fist almost. Game break trying to hit him with his Cuban Jesus trying to hit him with his spinning back fist. Like, that is the guy for which so many people, myself included, are so excited to see fight on this card, get a main event, perhaps end up fighter of the year. We'll see what that means as when we're talking about Adesanya. But if he knocks out Nate Diaz, which I don't think will happen, but if he does, you got to really talk about this man as having the best year of any fighter in the UFC. You just have to, man. Who he's fought, the way that he's fought, and the way that Nate Diaz called him out. And that's the other side of this BMF belt, man. Nobody living, breathing, no one from Nate Diaz is going to tell you that dude is anything short of walking to his own beat, doing it, know how he knows to do it. He's out here vegan, running triathlons, is going to just outwork you with his cardio, and then going to say, man up and fight me. And if you end up on the ground with him, you're dead. And that's kind of the thing. Like, if Diaz gets Masvidal to the ground, oh, look at that right hand. Oh, my God, Masvidal. Goodness me, just stringing them together, sir. Left, overhand, right. Ooh, look at that. Oh, look at these kicks to the, Oh, he's down. Finish him. Oh, it's over. Look at that. Goodness me. Jorge, it's still talking noise to Cowboy. Masvidal wanted it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. What else we got here, man? What else we got here? I mean, I could be here all day. You know, like we could talk about what Nate Diaz has meant. We could talk about what Jorge Masvidal has been, and I think most people understand just who this man is and Nate Diaz and what he's about, and the fact that he could take 3 years off from the sport and then do what he did to Showtime Pettis, and then have the presence of mind to say something like, yo, man, I want Masvidal because he's the only dude that is good enough for me to fight, that he's the only guy that is tough enough to fight me. Tells you what you need to know about Nate Diaz, right? But if you don't know who Nate Diaz is, you love him or you hate him. I love him. But I love him because this man he is what you think of when you think of a fighter. So is Masvidal. Now, again, that's why this BMF belt works. Is because these are two dudes that hate TV, hate being on TV, hate all the shenanigans around the UFC, can't stand dudes like Conor McGregor, can't stand showmanship. They just want to show up and fight and punk people. Now, there's lots of dudes that you know like that, and there are a few of those dudes fighting in the UFC right now, a few on the women's side. But that's what makes these two guys exceptional, is that they're able to do it, and they're able to do it in this moment where The Rock's going to hand somebody a fake belt, right? And we're going to see somebody get a fake belt, and I hope that whoever wins this belt takes this belt, tosses it into the crowd, because that's what it means. But if that's how you get other people into the arena, then you get them into the arena, and we get to grow the sport, because the sport is mainstream, but it's not so mainstream that it can't do without stars. You have to have stars. You have to have folks that know their names outside of your normal mixed martial arts fan. You have to have people that can go deep, but you also have to have people that know who Wonder Boy is, you know? You have to have people that know who DC is, just on general principle. That know who Bones Jones is on general principle. That can summon Ronda Rousey if there's a conversation about mixed martial arts. And knowing that there was a BMF belt and that there was a BMF belt for UFC 244 is a conversation starter wherever you go. Because everybody acknowledges what BMF means, right? And having The Rock there to give this belt away, also peak showmanship. But also works because neither one of these dudes could care less about The Rock in that ring, in that octagon, in those cages. They just want to beat up on the baddest dude in the room, to make weight, and do it again. This won't be their last fight. Sure as hell ain't their first fight. But we're all here for it. I'm here for it. Yeah, let's get this on. Let's do the BMF. Fake belt, everybody acknowledges it. We understand it. We don't care. We just want to see this fight. I'm more amped for this fight than I am for most title fights. This is going to be legit. Doses. Oh my God!